G'day everyone, welcome to a Sky Racing International preview of the running of the 2024 Tab Everest, the world's richest sprint race on turf. Myself, Lewis Willoughby, and Brad Gray here to find you the winners. Brad, this race, every time it rolls around, is one of the most looked forward to, not just here in Sydney or Australia, but really and respectfully anywhere in the world.
Yep, I think that's a fair shout. Hello to you, Louis, and everybody else watching on from wherever you are in the world. So you said it's the richest turf race in the world. It might be the most open turf race in the world at the moment because, as you'll see by the market, there's so many opinions around. We've got horses coming from all different angles. We've got 3-year-olds, we've got improving mares, and then you've got your top end of horses who've been there and done it, but there's a question mark over a few of them in terms of how well they're going. You
imagine some of these prices. This World Pool is going to be humming by the time the race rolls around because really, as you'll see with the field, and if you know these horses, there's maybe, 2 lengths, 3 at best, splitting the entire field from the top I Wish I Win down to Lady of Camelot.
Yep, a lot of familiar names there, aren't there? I Wish I Win, Giga Kick, Private Eye, Bella Nipotina, I Am Me, and then you've got your 3-year-olds mixed in as well. Lady of Camelot, who's a Golden Slipper winner, and she's one of your roughest priced horses, drawn a little bit awkwardly. Storm Boy's there, he looks your leader. Traffic Warden and Growing Empire, who are going to be very popular on the day.
There's so many different angles, different opinions leading in. Before we jump into it, how do you think this track's going to play? Rail true, we were a heavy 8 yesterday. We're maybe back to a soft 6 today. There's some rain maybe coming Friday, but Saturday looks okay. So how do you play all of that?
Bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? So Friday is going to be decisive in terms of where we end up. So as you say, Saturday perfect, drying conditions, but just how much rain we get on the Friday will decide what range we're in for Saturday. I'm thinking on the better side of soft. I think if you do form for a soft 5, you'll be about right.
And again, what about a speed map? So speed in terms of this race could prove all important for finding the winner. Any here on this page, you know, that will be definitely leading, and conversely, who's out the back?
Well, he'd like to be leading, Storm Boy, but we know he can be a little bit problematic at the start. He's a big, strong, powerful colt, and he takes a while to muster. So he won't want to get the start wrong and find himself in a tricky spot. I think you're looking at the other 3-year-olds. Growing Empire gets a nice spot outside the lead. Traffic Warden, the same can be said for him. He's drawn barrier 2, which is a lovely marble. And I Am Me draws barrier 1 again with Nash Willow, so she should land into a nice spot just trailing the speed, and she does come into this with her tail in the air.
Plenty of big jocks riding in the race as well. Brenton Abdallah makes the trip across from Hong Kong to take the ride on Storm Boy, so we'll have to wait and see how he goes. Let's jump into a few of our form lines here, Brad. We'll start with the Manikato Stakes. It was run in Melbourne. It features one of the key 3-year-olds of Growing Empire getting nailed on the post, and also I Wish I Win, who, go back 12 months, was a real fancy for this race.
Yeah, he was, and rightly so, because he's been at this level and done it time and time again. So the stable would have him exactly where they want him, I imagine. That's I Wish I Win out the back here. And also Growing Empire, who makes his own luck on top of the speed. And as you say, he's just nutted right on the line.
A length and a half, Cabalis recommendation behind those Hayasugi Coleman. Into the straight, it's Estriella at the 200 metres. Growing Empire won't go away, followed by recommendation. Growing Empire took the front. 100 metres to go from Estriella. Then Southport Tycoon. Growing Empire is in front, holding on. Southport Tycoon lunged but missed, I reckon. Growing Empire, I'd say, from Southport Tycoon, it will be a...
Yeah, what I like about Growing Empire is not only is he a talented 3-year-old, he's an improving 3-year-old. So every time he has stepped out at the races, he's gone to another level. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't improve further. He proved himself here against the older horses, and I was actually at the midweeks for his debut, and he went through the outside fence.
He did.
So he's come a long way in a very short period of time. He's still got a few little quirks. He's not the finished article, which is the query there. Going into Saturday, can a horse that's still got that natural improvement benefit to come with the race experience get away with winning a race like this? But he's just completely untapped. And on I Wish I Win, you've just got to take him on trust, don't you? Because we know the best of I Wish I Win would be fighting out the finish. Now, an interesting little stat there regarding Karen McAvoy. He rides Growing Empire. He's the only jockey to have ridden in all 7 Everests, and he's won 3 of them.
Pretty crazy stat, isn't it? Because I think sometimes, and this is respectfully to Karen, I think he can be one of the forgotten big names in Sydney, especially of the last few years when everyone's chatting your J-Max and your Bowmans or whatever. But here's a man who's got a ride in every single Everest. He's won 3 of them, as you mentioned. So if he's on a horse that you're backing on Saturday, you have to be filled with a bit more confidence that he's been there and done it on a big stage.
Yeah, and in the past 6 months, he's been riding in really good form. So, yep, Karen, he's fit, he's flying, and he's got his eye in.
We'll continue our form with the 3-year-olds of the race and take a look at how the Golden Rose over 1,400 metres panned out. Brad, it's a recipe for success in the race. You've only got to look back a few years when Yes, Yes, Yes ran over 14, dropped back to 12 and 1. Yeah,
exactly right. And Yes, Yes, Yes was a pretty exceptional 3-year-old, and you look at the rivals that he beat on that occasion, your Santa Ana Lanes, your Nature Strips. With due respect to on Saturday, I don't think it's got that level of depth. So here's Traffic Warden just in behind the speed. I imagine he gets a similar run there on Saturday, and there's Stormboy doing his thing out in front.
To the outside, 4 off the lead. Stormboy at the 250. Stormboy 2 lengths cleared from Mayfair. Broadsiding and Traffic Warden closing in. Stormboy is the leader from Traffic Warden and Broadsiding the outside. Broadsiding and Traffic Warden, they'll fight it out. Traffic Warden, Broadsiding bobbed. Won the Golden Rose. The champion T-Roll Broadsiding knocked off the stablemate Traffic Warden. Flushing home Mayfair to 3rd. Stormboy 4th.
It was a busy finish, so for some punters out there, they might see that as a bit of a red flag, but I don't. I love the setup for him. He's had that 1,400 metre run, 3 weeks between runs, back to the 1,200 metres, 3rd up, and he has a similar profile to Growing Empire in that, although he's had a few more race starts, he too, each time he steps out, he progresses. So I'd be very surprised if Godolphin don't have him spot on up to the mark. And I know that throughout the week, James Cummings, when he talks about this horse, you can just see that little sparkle in his eye. I think they're pretty bullish, Godolphin, that he'll be in the finish. So there's Yes, Yes, Yes and Giga Kick that have won the race as 3-year-olds. So pretty good record, given the race has only been around for, 7 odd years.
Just quickly on that form, I think by the time the race comes around Saturday, there's going to be quite a price disparity between Stormboy and Traffic Warden, but there's not much splitting them there on the line. Why do you think that Stormboy's maybe just not getting that respect from the market? Do you think there's too many things that could go wrong?
Maybe, yeah. I think a lot of punters would like to be betting into the race after they'd gone 300 metres because he bangs himself out, gets into a rhythm, and with 53 kilos and using that big, strong frame that he has to build some momentum, I think he does give some cheek. I've got him somewhere in the numbers. So he did start a shorter price there than Traffic Warden. He's always had a strong SP all throughout his career. So, yeah, I think he is dangerous. He just has to get the start right.
All right, the Premier Stakes was run and won 2 weeks ago to the day and has proved a pretty successful form reference in the past for the Everest. You'll see Bella Nipotina come through this race, who was, in the months leading up to Saturday, a long-time favourite, came up with the outside draw on the barrier draw the other night.
She did. So is that a disaster? Maybe. It probably depends how this track is playing. If there's a bit of rain there around on Friday, I think that'll help her because it might see them coming down the middle of the track and it may be no disadvantage. You can see her just in behind the speed here. She's a magnificent horse, a 7-year-old, but she's racing as well as ever.
Bandy's boy aiming up the fence. Bella Nipotina riding for luck. Think about it still. Last Cold Crusher Marzu aiming up the inside. Will this be a result for bookies? Airman went up the inside. Now Marzu starting to launch. Bella Nipotina late. Through the centre. Cold Crusher keeps coming. It's Airman and Marzu. Bella very late. Airman the inside. Marzu. I think Airman a nose to Marzu. Close up Bella Nipotina in a 3-way go. Giga kick.
What you see is what you get with Bella. She always runs to a really good level. She smashed the clock in 2 runs back, and there'll be more speed there on Saturday, which is key to her chances, particularly where she has drawn. That was a slowly run race. Those up towards the front certainly had their chance, and they did get home despite paying big odds, that being Airman and Marzu. Giga Kick, I guess the jury's out to some extent. He has won this race in the past as a 3-year-old, of course, a few years ago. He was only second up here off a layoff, so if you believe that there is further improvement and he can find his best form, you might be getting a price to find out. So the Premier Stakes has provided 3 of the past 7 Everest winners, and it has been the best lead up to this point of the race.
If you listen to Giga Kick's trainer Clayton Douglas, he's bullish that 3rd up there is massive improvement to come off that long let off. Just quickly with Bella, you saw there on the replay, and it was a similar situation first up, buried away on the fence, just coming off heels the entire time. She's maybe unlucky not to be unbeaten this prep. But from barrier 12, if they go back to last, can they win from there? If not, where are they going to try and slot in?
I think they have to take their medicine. Yeah, I think how the track is playing might dictate that because she is versatile, but looking at the speed horses drawn underneath her, I think she might be wide and working, and that just dulls that brilliant finish that she's got if they ride her forward and don't get any cover. So a bit to play out in that regard, but yeah, we know she's got a sizzling last 600 metres, so if she gets the right setup, gets her toe in the ground, look out late. She'll be launching home.
Okay, the Shaco Stakes contained the likes of Jolly Star and Sunshine in Paris. It looked a really fast run race to the eye. Jolly Star was a short favourite here, Brad, and went under, beaten by Sunshine in Paris, but the market maybe come Saturday will think that that could reverse. Do you give either of these two a shot in this year's Everest?
Certainly do. I think Sunshine in Paris has to find another length in terms of what she has done in the past, but she's still lightly raced, and I do like the 5 weeks between runs because she's so explosive fresh, as she proved here. Whereas Jolly Star, I do think the market's placing a lot of credence on that first up win where she was dynamite. Not so explosive here. There they are, the mares, and they fight out the finish somewhat.
Closing in, so Sunshine in Paris. Jolly Star's gone one pace. Mumbo Muse hits the lead, but Sunshine in Paris moved up and went bang and claims back-to-back Shiracos. Sunshine in Paris edged out Mumbo Muse and Jolly Star third. Macarena.
Yeah, I found Jolly Star one of the more interesting and probably more difficult runners to really assess there on Saturday, and she's probably the one that holds the market together at this point. She's at the pointy end. Rightly so in terms of what she did first up, but second up here has to raise a few little queries, but I can see why she's popular. James McDonald, Chris Waller, so dynamic fresh. They've tried to replicate that, backed off since this, and she has trialled up pretty sweetly since this performance. So I'm inclined to risk her, just more so from a price perspective, but I wouldn't be surprised to see her run well. And then there's this little anomaly. So no mare has ever won the Everest, and 16 have tried, and amongst those 16 have been some pretty handy ones.
It certainly has. Just with that Jolly Star setup, obviously I guess it's always going to be hard to really replicate if you've flown first up to match that, or even better, that second up. And there's always that bit of Chris Waller third up, really peak again kind of atmosphere about it. And the other big thing I think is that J-Mac realistically probably has the choice of, not the whole field of course, but a few of the key runners, and he elects with Jolly Star. Would that give you any push, the fact that he's chosen her?
I think it has to, doesn't it? So he did ride Giga Kick in his lead-ups, and he's elected to ride Jolly Star, but he does have the association with Chris Waller. So I have in the past tried to make sense of jockey bookings, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole at times. But on Jolly Star, the other thing that's in the back of my mind is the fact that she's a 1,000 Guineas winner when she was a 3-year-old filly. Have they tried to make a miler into a sprinter? And did that show there last time out that she might be looking for a touch further, because a race like the Golden Eagle is probably still on the cards after this?
Yep, good point. So the jockeys have been booked, the barriers have been drawn. Time to find the winner for the 2024 Everest. Brad, which way are you going?
Yep, it's the only thing left to do. So I am team 3-year-olds there. Race 7, number 10, Traffic Warden, for James Cummings with Jamie Carr to do the steering. I think he's perfectly set up here. Looks set for another career peak, and if he runs to that level, I can't see him not running well. And a duet, if you're having one, Traffic Warden and Growing Empire. So both at the top end of the market, but I do think that is completely justified.
I'll be having a duet for sure, because the World Pool in operation on Everest Day means those pools are going to be huge for your exotics. And with the way that this market may play out, it's a really good race to maybe throw a few in for your trifectas, first 4 duets, all those kind of exotics. And with Godolphin, I think they've had 10 runners in the race since inception, 4th and 5th last year. The best was a 2nd with Bivouac. Maybe they're due this time around.
They're ready to go one better.
All right, so the Tab Everest coming up on Saturday from Royal Randwick, the world's richest sprint race on turf. You'll catch it on Sky Racing.